Good. All right, it is 5:30. Thanks everybody for being here. We will go through the agenda and get ready for our 6 o'clock meeting. We will have a proclamation for Historic Preservation Month. Then we'll have approval of minutes. There were no changes. Any questions? All right, public hearings. Ordinance 24-4581, approved zoning text amendment 249-24. No changes. Any questions? All right, resolution number 24073, approve acceptance of Alpha Insurance donation for fire blankets for Decatur Fire and Rescue. Any questions? Resolution 24074, approve funding correction for Animal Services truck box. Any questions? Resolution 24075, declare surplus of trucks no longer needed by Community Development Department. Alan?
The IT department has requested both of those trucks, so we would ask that y'all just remove that from the agenda. Thank you.
All right, so we will remove C. Resolution 24075. Resolution 24076, award bid number 24011 to Vulcan Construction Materials for bulk aggregates. Any questions? Resolution 24077, award bid number 24012 to ADCO Pipe and Supply for drainage supplies for the Jack Allen Fields. Any questions? Resolution 24078, declare surplus of equipment no longer needed by the landfill department. Any questions? Ordinance's first reading, ordinance 244585, declare surplus and approve the sale of 111 4th Avenue Northwest to Breba Renovation LLC.
No changes.
Okay, any questions? Ordinance 244580A, approve amendment to the Code of Decatur, Alabama, Section 24.5 for repossession of motor vehicles.
Yes, there's no change.
All right, any questions?
Last several years.
All right, ordinance 244582, approve street name change to Clear Creek Drive Southwest. Any questions? Ordinance 244583, approve annual ad valorem tax levy for FY25. Any questions? Boards and committees, reappoint James Skip Thompson to the Morgan County Industrial Park and Economic Development Cooperative, term ending May 16th, 2028. Any questions? All right, we'll get started at 6. Thanks. right, we'll call the meeting to order. Brandon Watkins will lead us in our invocation and pledge.
Let's pray. Now, Father God, I know you're a powerful God. Let your Shavako wind come through this place, God. Shut mouth for people, God, that's speaking out of turn. I know you have no respect for person. Let this thing be in order. I don't care if they're in leadership or not, God. Do what you do. You say you are a bomb in Gilead. You come through this place, set it on fire. God, let us give respect back to you for the city, God. The silence of things is going on. You move. God, you move on our hearts, God. You're awesome, God. And God, you love us. You care for us, God. I pray you're anointed in this place. And any voice that rises up against you, God, shut it up and shut it down, God. Let you be glorified in this place. Let us not be a laughter no more of the city, but let you rise up in this city. We say, God, we trust. Let us trust you tonight. And God, I know you can do it. I speak bold. You said, come before you boldly. And God, I come boldly before you. I prophesy in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ that our tongue will be a pen of a ready writer, and we will write light today. And I give you glory and I give you honor. Amen. Amen. Pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, Brandon. Roll call. Here. 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 All right, first item on the agenda is proclamation for Historic Preservation Month, and Jake Woods is here to receive that from the mayor.
So this is a proclamation to recognize Historic Preservation Month. And Jake, you serve on the board? Yes, sir. I'm the chairman of the Architecture Review. Yes, sir. All right. And so whereas historic preservation is relevant for communities across the nation, both urban and rural, and for Americans of all ages, all walks of life, and all ethnic backgrounds, and whereas it is important to celebrate the role of history in the built environment in our lives and the contributions made by dedicated individuals to help preserve the tangible aspects of the heritage that has shaped us as people. As a people. Now, therefore, I, Tab Bolin, Mayor of the City of Decatur, Alabama, along with our City Council, do hereby proclaim May 2024 as Historic Preservation Month and call upon the people of Decatur to join their fellow citizens across the United States in recognizing and participating in this special observance. And we thank you for your service and everyone who served. Thank you.
All right, we'll move into approval of minutes. We'll take these together.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper. Second by Mr. McMasters. And Mr. Faruqi, did you want to speak on the third item?
You started already? Okay, the minutes of 15 April. There was public comment by Mr. Gordon. He asked what corrections had been made or proposed for the police department. And at the last meeting, I think Mr. Mark said things are being worked. Also, Ms. Daly, she asked why the tours took 3 months to get done. And those are pretty valid questions in my opinion. Has there been any update to that since the 15th of April?
Is this a question about the minutes we're approving or just content of the minutes?
Well, there's content in the minutes.
Yeah. So it showed that those questions were asked?
No.
Okay.
Those questions were not asked.
I'm not sure.
What's being asked is an update on those questions.
No.
Okay. There's also, when it said that these issues are being worked, who on the dais here has been present for any public meetings on these topics? The tow ordinance and or
Public
police
meetings on the
response?
topics. I have.
Who else?
Sitting here listening to that.
Okay, I'm not
Yes.
talking about this.
These are public meetings.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm talking about public meetings with the committees that have been established to look at the tow ordinance and police interaction with the public, both of which were mentioned on the 15th of April.
So those are ongoing, Mr. Faruqi.
Have you been there?
No, sir.
Okay.
But I did have a discussion today with our chief of police, and the meetings are happening. They're not public. They're more, I think he probably sees, and those that are with him, that they're more productive meeting as a group.
Are there any deliverables from these meetings?
Not at this point, no, sir.
So these are just meetings to have meetings?
No, sir. No, sir. It's working forward.
Okay, working forward from 15th of April till now, 3 weeks. Where is the progress? Where is the after-action report to say, on this meeting we did X? Where is the measure of effectiveness? Are we online with that agenda that we have? Does that exist?
Chief is not here tonight.
You are.
I am, but I don't sit in on the meetings.
Does anybody here sit in those meetings?
I told you it's the chief and the citizen advisory group.
Okay. L&O for the police department, Mr. McMasters, have you been there?
No,
Should you be there?
no,
Why?
because I wasn't asked to be there.
You're our liaison to this city. He has the ropes of everybody in the departments, everyone sitting over here, minus because the chief ain't here. You are our representative to that department. You ought to be there, my opinion. That's all I have.
Thank you. We do have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call. Aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved 5-0. Next, we have public hearings. Ordinance 24-4581, approved zoning text amendment 249-24. Tommy.
How are y'all doing today? Good. Hey, Tom. I'm Tommy Williams with the Planning Department, and this text will amend district requirements for B5, the Central Business District. It will make restaurants a permitted use, and it will make bars or lounges a use on appeal, which means it goes before the Board of Zoning Adjustments. And we do have the support of the DDRA.
All right, this is a public hearing. If there's anyone here to speak on this particular item, you can speak now. All right, seeing no one here to speak, we'll consider the public hearing closed. So moved. Second. Motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call. Aye.
Aye.
No.
Aye. Ordinance 24-4581 is approved 4-1. Resolutions. Resolution 24-073, approve acceptance of Alpha Insurance donation for fire blankets for Decatur Fire and Rescue. Chief.
Yes, sir. Tracy Thornton, Decatur Fire and Rescue. Alpha was gracious enough to provide us a donation for us to purchase these fire blankets. These fire blankets will mostly be used with electric car fires if we have one. If you don't know, electric car fire burns much harder than a regular car fire, and we're looking at the close proximity to other cars it could be, so we'll be using these blankets hopefully to help control that heat coming off those fires.
So moved. Motion by Mr. Pepper. Second. Second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call. Aye. Resolution 24-073 is approved 5-0. Resolution 24-074, approved funding correction for animal services truck box.
Good evening, gentlemen. We had a little bit of confusion. There's been a few years between the original appropriation of the animal services truck plus the outfitting of it with special equipment. We had a we had a bid increase a few weeks ago, and then finance just wasn't comfortable with the language that was in it as far as transparency and how much funding was actually needed for it. We are asking for an additional $22,212 to be clarified in the verbiage of the legal record.
So moved. Motion by Mr. Pepper. Second. Second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call. Aye. Aye. Resolution 24-074 is approved 5-0. Resolution 24-075 has been removed. Resolution 24-076, award bid number 24-011 to Vulcan Construction Materials for bulk aggregates.
Good evening, Jeremy Sherrill with Procurement. This is a renewal of an annual contract for bulk aggregates. We opened the bid on April 16. received 2 submissions and recommending Vulcan Construction Materials as the lowest responsible bidder.
So moved.
Second. Motion by Mr. Pepper, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call. Aye.
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 Resolution 24076, approved 5-0. Resolution 24077, award bid number 24012 to ADCO Pipe and Supply for drainage supplies for the Jack Allen Fields.
Yes, sir. This is a request for all of the drainage supplies that are going to be needed to complete. Open on April 16, invited 24 vendors, and ADCO was the lone respondent. We're recommending them within budget.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper.
Second.
Second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion?
Have we come to some sort of reason as to why we're only having one bidder in so many different areas?
I think if we would look back over the course of the last few months, we've seen an increase in that, and I don't like having one bidder. This was one, again, that we invited 24 to, and we just didn't get any participation. But I have seen I've seen a difference. I feel like we've had more participation over the course of the last few months.
Any other discussion? Roll call. Aye.
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 Resolution 24077 is approved 5-0. Resolution 24078 declares surplus of equipment no longer used by the landfill department.
This is a stationary crane that has been replaced and is out of service. We're looking to surplus.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper.
Second.
Second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call. Aye.
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 Resolution 24078 approved 5-0. Next is ordinances first reading. Ordinance 244585 declares surplus and approve the sale of 111 4th Avenue Northwest to Breba Renovation LLC.
Yes, Alan Stover, Community Development Department. This is an adjacent property owner who has requested to purchase this lot, so we're requesting y'all's approval to surplus it.
And he has paid.
He's paid his earnest money, so I would ask if y'all are so inclined to
Make a motion for immediate consideration.
Was that?
Yeah, I make that
okay.
motion.
Mr. Pepper has made Mr. Pepper has made a motion for immediate consideration.
Second.
Second by Mr. McMasters. Any discussion on the immediate consideration? Roll call. Aye.
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 Immediate consideration is approved, vote of 5-0. Motion on the ordinance.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McMasters.
Second.
Second by Mr. Pepper. Any discussion? Roll call. Aye.
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 Ordinance 244585 is approved 5-0.
Thank you.
Ordinances, ordinance 244580A, approve amendment to Code of Decatur, Alabama, section 24.5 for repossession of motor vehicles. And we did have a few people sign in to speak on that, so I'll just go down. Mr. Faruqi was the first one to sign in.
Okay, similarly, it took 3 months to get this ordinance from first reading to where we are now. I just, for the very first time, watched a first reading of an ordinance get approved through y'all. It took this amount of time. I don't understand why it took us so long to get to this point. I know there's a lot of stakeholders out here, and stake is S-T-A-K-E, not S-T-E-A-K. So I still just don't understand how it took us this long to get to this point. There's a lot of good points in this ordinance. My number one point that I mentioned about 2 months ago was, why does it take us till line 26 to get about the business of breaking the peace? I'm just happy that it looks like it's, at least from my representative, it looks like it's going to get approved. So finally.
Yeah, you mean to answer that?
Yeah.
That is true. It did take a while, and I think the people who worked on that, and I don't see Dr. Rice, but I do see Dr. Owens back there. We had a lot of conversation. We met for really hours. I met with them for hours around this. Mr. Marks was involved as well. We had something we first off, there was a conversation happened where the original kind of idea came from. There were some concerns, so we met with stakeholders and different that this would impact. That kind of changed the direction. We then went to basically where a notification would be given, which is still in there today. When we went to vote on that, which again takes some time, as you mentioned, there was concern from the community that we wanted a little bit more teeth in the ordinance and added several items, which then delays it even more. So we met again for many hours, so at least 2 hours to work through that. Again, Mr. Marks, members of the community, and we came up with what you're seeing today. It goes through a first reading and then what we're voting on today. So that's somewhat of the timeline in a very quick portion. So, yeah.
And so how would we establish a similar type of board or council to address things like police actions in the city?
Yeah.
How does that happen?
I think I don't know how to answer that question other than to say I was willing to meet, and I don't mean to. Actually, Mr. Jackson, I think, was involved in this too, but we met because it was requested, and it was a direct request to me, and so I met with the folks that wanted to meet, and that's how we got there. So okay. I don't know if that answers your question, but that's how we got to where we are today.
And my suggestion, again, because we directed, or I've been talking about this body being a legislative body, as a legislative body, you can set up a resolution on just about anything and go ahead and just make it an action item and set up a council to look at things. And everybody in this room has an interest in something. And if you ask the question, how many people are interested in the tow ordinance, you might see some hands up. If you ask how many people are interested in a citizen advisory council for the police, you might get some hands up.
And I've had those conversations with folks as well, but we can only meet as a body in this room, or not in this room, in a room with given notice, with the media given notice, in an open public meeting like this, and that's the only way to really deliberate. It is the only way to deliberate an issue. So that's why it's effective to do those things behind the scenes, come to this table, then deliberate it. There could be some disagreement tonight. There could be disagreement from the community. So we don't know where we're going. I don't know where this is going to go. It may pass, it may not, it may get tabled. Those are your options. But we cannot do that other than sitting on this dais with the full group. Yep.
There is another option, and that is to establish a council. Like apparently there are 2 of them out there floating about to deal with things like this.
They cannot have more than 2 council members involved.
I don't think we need any council members. They can present you with the information as a deliverable to you and make that an action item on our list.
I actually appreciate the way this one went. I think it went through several iterations where we had good feedback from tow company, people who do repossessions, to the community that came up with it, to council member involvement, to our city attorney, and I think we've got something good. It's not perfect for everybody, but we have something to look at to vote on. So I think the way this one went was effective, which I guess is your point. But
well, actually, my point is, this could have started out as a resolution informally to allow members of this body to say hi or no, share it amongst yourselves and say, we think this ought to go forward as an issue, as part of our legislative functions.
Okay, thank you.
I guess I'm done.
Yes, sir. Right. Next is Amy Faruqi.
Oh, I was just going to yield my time at the position.
Okay. Did you? Yeah. All right. If I miss anybody, you're going to have to tell me. Dr. Owens. Yes.
I don't have any further things to say on the ordinance, except I hope that you will pass it, and after that, I hope we can dedicate that same intensity and time to working on getting these officers in line or fired.
Thanks, Dr. Owens. That's everyone I had signed in to speak on that item. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pike.
Second.
Second by Mr. McMasters. Any discussion? Roll call. Aye.
Aye.
No.
Ordinance 24-4580A is approved 4-1. Next is ordinance 24-4582, approved street name change to Clear Creek Drive Southwest.
All right, this is for final plat, Valley Park. And not only did the name duplicate, but the numbers duplicated. And so we're requesting a name change to Clear Creek Drive.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper,
Second.
second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call. Aye.
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 Ordinance 24-4582 is approved 5-0. Ordinance 24-4583, approve annual ad valorem tax levy for FY25.
Just normal tax levy, annual tax levy that has to be approved each year on the Sunday taxes.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Pepper.
Second.
Second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call. Aye.
Aye.
He got aye. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Ordinance 24-4583, approved 5-0. Next is boards and committees. Reappoint James Skip Thompson to the Morgan County Industrial Park and Economic Development Cooperative, term ending May 16, 2028.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McMaster, second by Mr. Pike. Any discussion? Roll call. Aye.
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 Reappointment is approved 5-0. The next council work session will be held May 13th, 2024 at 5 p.m. Next regular council meeting will be held on May 20th, 2024 at 10 a.m. Was there anything else from directors? I know Stephanie had something. Yep.
Good evening, Council President, Council Mayor. Stephanie McLean, Decatur Park and Rec. I want to give an update on the therapeutics coordinator position. It's been alleged that the city has not been proactive in hiring this recreational coordinator for therapeutics, and those are just not the facts. Expectations for an immediate placement are not realistic in any setting for any position, and certainly not for this position. The city's policy is that vacancies are posted for a minimum of 2 weeks. Some may be posted for longer periods, but 2 weeks is the minimum. Ms. Kelly Sims retired on December the 1st, 2023. The position was first posted on December 7th of 2023 and scheduled to close on January 12th of 2024. 0 applicants responded, and the vacancy was extended through February 14th, 2024, netting 1 internal applicant who did not meet qualifications. Parks and Rec and HR leadership evaluated the needs and discussed position requirements and posting language and clarified requirements so that expanded recruitment efforts could be productive. The vacancy was reposted on April the 8th of 24, and it closed on April the 30th. The additional week was to ensure ample time for additional recruitment efforts to net benefits and encourage candidates to apply. As far as the immediate placement, this position requires specialized experience and training, and beyond that, the city's primary interest is ensuring that the right person with the right skills and the right heart is selected. To date, due to the expanded recruitment efforts, HR has received several applications for consideration. We anticipate those who meet the requirements to include prior and relevant experience will be interviewed very shortly. Should the right individual be identified from this pool of applicants, we hope that they will be on board sometime in June and will remain optimistic. However, if the right candidate is not identified from the current pool, we will continue the recruitment efforts. Due to the sensitive nature of this position and program participants, there will be a comprehensive background screening, criminal history, and criminal history report, which cannot be conducted until after an offer has been accepted. The HR department is currently evaluating applications and working on the next steps in the hiring process. In addition, there are several factors and guidelines that will apply going forward for the protection of the participants, the city, and our employees. These modifications have already been communicated to the interested parties. They shall include: participants must have a guardian present to see to any personal care, hygiene needs, or medication administration. Travel to events, including overnight stays, must be provided by the guardian. These programs in place prior to Kelly's departure in December have continued without disruption. These include the daytime therapeutics programming, as well as the afternoon Special Olympics programming. In March, Decatur Parks and Rec hosted the Special Olympics swim meet qualifier at the Aquadome. And in April, Decatur Parks and Rec assisted with the bowling qualifier at AMF River City Lanes. As stated at the April 11th meeting, Decatur Park and Rec will continue to help coach the Special Olympics State Games in Troy later this month. Hopefully, this will help to give an update on where we are with hiring the position and clear up any misinformation regarding our therapeutics program. Do you have any questions at this time for me?
Thanks, Steph. Any questions?
Not at this time.
No, thank you.
Well, Steph, just,
Yes, sir.
I know just from observation that the department and probably the city is very proud of the therapeutics program.
Yes, sir.
And the region, I guess the area served is very large.
Yes, sir.
And with that, we have a lot of fun doing it. We certainly appreciate Kelly's service to the city. She made a decision to retire.
Yes, sir.
Kelly, to my understanding, had no special training. She had a gift.
Yes, sir.
She had a heart for it, and you mentioned that whenever you shared.
Yes, sir.
So thank you for coming up and sharing what the department is doing to try to get the right person in here at the speed of right, and then the adjustments that have been made for the therapeutics program.
Yes, sir. And hopefully we'll find that right person with the right heart, right education, right experience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steph. All right, we will move into public comment. Remember, these are we give 3 minutes. Please address the council. Of course, no profanity, as we've discussed, and we'll just go through the list in order. Sarah Malinowski was first.
Thank you for your time. I'm Sarah Malinowski. I have been a citizen of Decatur City for 35 years, and my family has been involved with the therapeutic program for 30 years in honor of my sister, Shannon. I'm standing here to advocate for not only my sister, but past, present, and future athletes, and I can agree with Stephanie McLean on one thing. We want the same thing. We want a director that has the heart and the gift to be able to serve our citizens to the best of their ability. We do have disagreements and concerns on some of the policy changes that were given to us at that April 11th meeting. In 40 years, the employees that have been working for Decatur Parks and Recreation have served our athletes and their families in a great way. I myself have worked for Decatur Parks and Recs as a coach in a coaching capacity, and also did attend a state games where I was responsible for meeting the needs of every athlete, whether it be giving medication or assisting with hygienic needs, being a chaperone in dorm rooms. And what we as parents are concerned about is that we were just given the information of the policy changes and not really consulted about how these policy changes would negatively impact the citizens that they're serving. A lot of our athletes have caregivers that might have things that prevent them from attending away events, prevent them from being able to stay in a dorm with their athlete. And in the past 40 years, that's never been a problem. Decatur Parks and Recreation Department has been able to have a director and employees and coaches that met every athlete's need and provided them a way to be able to compete to the best of their abilities. And these changes in policies are going to affect our athletes in a negative way. It's going to exclude a lot of athletes from being able to participate at competitions, and we are merely asking that these things are taken into consideration because you are serving a community that has individual needs that they cannot take care of on their own. And that has always been understood in the past, and I think that's what most parents and caregivers that were at that meeting were most frustrated and upset about. Because just think about if your children or grandchildren use this therapeutic program as a lifeline. When they leave school, the opportunities for these athletes to be able to participate and socialize with their peers decreases dramatically. And I want you to think about how you expect your city leaders and the Decatur Parks and Recs to serve their needs. And right now, we don't feel like that's being taken into consideration.
Thanks, Ms. Malowski.
So that can be very challenging, right? That can be very upsetting. Change is very hard in many different ways, right? I have somebody that is a family member that has special needs. His name is Eddie, and with that being said, there are different things that we have to do differently in our home to be able to accommodate his needs, right? And so I understand where you're coming from in many different ways. I'm curious to know how you have come to the conclusion that it's going to exclude individuals from participating in activities. And so I know that there was an individual that worked for the city that had a passion for helping those in this situation, but to my understanding, that individual had no training in this situation, had no medical training, had no nothing. And in my personal opinion, I find it very inappropriate that individuals with no training are handing out medications that are prescribed to individuals. And not only that risk, there's a liability there. There's a major liability there. I mean, there could be, narcotics be given out, there antibiotics. There's small things that could turn into big things very quickly that they should not be handling. And so they don't have the training for it. They didn't go to school for it. Whatever they did go to school for, they're choosing to work at Parks and Rec, and that puts a major liability not only on them but the city itself as well. So that is something that is concerning to myself. So I understand your grief, and I sympathize with you. I do, but unfortunately, I mean, this is just it's a situation of change, and nobody does like change. It's very upsetting. So, but I am curious to know how you've come to the conclusion that nobody would be able, or certain individuals would not be able to participate in the Olympics.
As I stated, a lot of our athletes don't have caregivers that are able to go to these competitions. And so if an athlete doesn't have a chaperone going in the capacity to help them with their needs, that excludes them.
Okay. So, I mean, I would be willing to work with anybody that's willing to set up a plan to find caregivers that are professionally trained for this situation. But to my understanding, I don't think any of the Parks and Rec employees are trained for that situation.
Is it unrealistic to expect that Decatur Parks and Recreation could train employees so that they are able to do that?
I think that there are individuals who go to school for things like that. I don't think that it's a very realistic thing to ask at this time. No, there's not enough staffing for it. We're currently trying to find an employee to fill that certain role. So, I mean, it's not a very easy thing.
I don't think you have to be a nurse or a doctor in any capacity to be able to be trained to give medication in a professional manner and to make sure that mistakes aren't being made. My sister has attended camps where they take charge of those things. That's right. The city schools do have nurses, but I've also had a child go on a trip where I sign over the paperwork stating that if my child needs medication, an individual can give it to them.
And I understand that, but I would be willing to bet that they have got procedures in place for those situations in the event something were to happen, and they have some sort of coverage when it comes to liability there.
And so is it unrealistic to expect that Decatur Parks and Recs provides people that have been trained in that capacity to do it? I don't think it is when you are serving a community of people with individual cognitive disabilities.
So I would say that in this situation, again, I'm willing to work with you to try and find individuals that are professionally trained to handle this situation, but I do not believe that that is something that you may correct me if I'm wrong here, but I actually did some research prior to coming in because I was aware that you guys were coming tonight. And so I've called a couple of other cities, and they don't do things similar to this neither. As a matter of fact, I had a city in the Birmingham metro area tell me absolutely not. They would not administer medications to individuals or hand out medications to individuals.
So why was this issue never brought up in the 40 years that this therapeutic program has been running?
I'm just as curious to know that as you are. At the end of the day, it's being brought up now and it's being addressed now.
Well, how is that going to affect the person who is chosen for the director position? Is it not unrealistic for us to expect the director and the coaches and the employees that are working under the director to be trained in that?
I think that how we move forward, and I think I talked to someone on the phone about this, is we've got to hire the new person that's in charge. And then hopefully they have some experience in exactly what you're talking about, and they can really help us create policy that is doable.
But should that be added to the requirements?
It could be. I don't know enough about it. I'm not going to sit up here and talk like I do.
Right.
To say that but someone will have that.
Well, let me ask you, what individual meets the requirements for that situation?
Well, if you are looking for someone that has experience, and you're saying that Kelly Sims, who served for 27 years, didn't have experience?
That's right.
She did it for 27 years. We never had an issue. There was never an issue that I know of being part of the program as a volunteer or a caregiver or an employee where an issue was brought forth with medication being given to the wrong person.
Well, we're focusing on, if I may.
27 years you employed somebody that you are just saying right now had no qualifications. You're throwing her under the bus.
And she was smart. She was very smart.
She knew what she was doing, and she had the right to serve these children
Kind of
and their
zeroing in on
families.
medication, but there's also matters of hygiene.
That also takes place at camp because I have worked for a camp and served in that capacity as a college student, not someone that had the requirements. I had the heart to do As an educator, not a special educator, an educator, I helped the people that needed help. And we're asking that support be given by Decatur Parks and Recreation to find people that have the heart, regardless of liability. They want to serve the citizens with these disabilities to the best of their ability. And we feel like as parents that we do know how to take care of our kids.
So the hygiene part of it, the touching of the certain private areas, things of that nature, spending the night in a room with people, it puts our employees in the city in a very concerning manner as far as liability is concerned.
It is uncomfortable, but it's not unreasonable to expect that those needs will be met by someone serving this community.
Well, but if someone were to make an accusation to this a said employee, how do they defend themselves?
I can't answer that, but I know that we haven't had an accusation in the last 40 years brought against a director or an employee, because when we are investing in the people that are serving our community, we give them the good faith and the understanding that they are going to meet our children's needs. Yes, it's uncomfortable. Nobody wants to do it, but we have communities, we have group homes, we have things in policy that find these people that are willing to do the hard, uncomfortable jobs, and that's what we're expecting in a director, and we're expecting to get support from the city leaders and the Decatur Parks and Recreation Department, and we don't feel like that's what we're getting.
So if you're asking the city to take on these things, what is preventing, now you said that there are certain individuals that do not have transportation or something along those lines. So my only question is, what is preventing any of you from taking on this liability?
Well,
if you're willing to come in and advocate for it, why are you not willing to take on the responsibility?
That's exactly what the city asked us to do, and because they asked us to do it and we didn't stand up and say we were going to do it, they did not file paperwork for our athletes to be able to participate at state like they said they were going to. They were not the liaison between the city and the state Special Olympic program, where buses and transportation are provided with insurance for those liabilities that they did not want to take on. So basically, we're left to do it on our own, and we were basically told if we wanted our athletes to participate, we were going to have to individually file the paperwork so that they can attend the state games that they've attended, minus COVID years, for the last 40 years. And I am in the position to transport my sister, and I am in the position to give her medication and to be a chaperone. But you are asking a parent to be a delegate for all the athletes when no Decatur City employee was willing to do it. They want to go in a coaching capacity, and that's it. They don't know our athletes. They might not know anything about our sport. We're going to be there as a volunteer, and they specifically said they thought this program could be run by volunteers. So that told us that we were on our own, and that we were going to do it on our own and continue to fight like we fight every day of our special needs loved ones' lives to ensure that they have the rights that are afforded to everyone else because of their cognitive disabilities. And I can do that. But I also work full-time. I also have a child of my own, and I couldn't assume the responsibility to be a chaperone for how many athletes were going to be able to attend. They wanted one parent delegate when they weren't going to do it themselves. They didn't tell us until the deadline that none of the paper was filed. They told us that they weren't going to provide transportation. We did it on our own, and we paid the fees on our own. But I can do that, but that doesn't mean everybody else's caregiver can do it. So I'm not just standing here advocating for my sister. I'm standing here advocating for everybody that is part of this program that might not have a voice to do it themselves or might not have someone else to do it for them.
Thank you.
Do you have...
Mr. Pepper, I think we need to move on.
That's fair. Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Malinowski. We'll move on to Sue, and I'm not sure last name. Takis, okay.
My name is Sue Takis, and I am also a parent of a child, a young man with special needs who's been part of the Decatur Parks and Rec program for about 20 years. Sorry, Sarah, but I'm going to take my minutes because there's some things that I want to reiterate from both what Stephanie and Sarah have said. At the April 11th meeting that the parents had with 3 city employees, we were promised, they produced the new policy changes. Whether we are in agreement or not, it is what it is. It does put a hardship on some of the families who their parents may be aged out and they cannot travel. Again, it is what it is. However, there were things told to this parent group, and there was approximately 50 people at this meeting by Stephanie and Orlando Spring and Aaron, and I'm sorry, I cannot remember his last name, that they would assist us in getting to the state Alabama Special Olympic Games. Those things did not happen. Regardless of what Stephanie and the others may tell you, the parents had to contact the Special Olympics program in Montgomery. We had to register on our own. We paid the fees on our own. We secured our own transportation to get there. Again, all things that Decatur Parks and Rec had been doing for as long as I'm aware of with the Special Olympics program. This put, again, an extreme hardship on many of these parents. And it was a time crunch. You know, the deadline for registration had passed. Fortunately, the woman in charge at the state Special Olympics office granted us an extension because she was aware of the situation that there is no therapeutics director. So again, I just want to reiterate that this has created an extreme hardship, and as Sarah pointed out, you're talking about a population that is extremely vulnerable. And we understand your thoughts about the liability issues. We understand that. But we want you to understand what it's like to be in our shoes, to have a young adult or an older adult or an upcoming young child that you want to be participating with their peers. Again, it's an ongoing issue. It's forever going to be here. In years past, Decatur has been a model for other cities, other counties, as far as our Special Olympics program. For example, we had the torch run. I haven't seen that happen in many, many years. So we're just asking that you consider what we're bringing forth as far as the needs for our young adults.
Thank you, Sue. Mark Griffin.
Yes, sir. Not to lose any of my 3 minutes. Just to add to what Sarah brought up, it was found back in the battles over self-administration versus, giving pills, tube feeding, that kind of thing, that anything a parent could be trained to do, so could a paraprofessional or a teacher. So let's put that aside. Most of what I was going to say is stolen, but I will clear up a few things. At that meeting where we talked about being handed a new plate of food, some misinformation was handed out. And one of them was that there would be no transportation because of funding. The other piece of that information was that there was a liability to the city. It didn't take but one call to Special Olympics State Office where they said, I don't know what's wrong up in Decatur, but your bus is always paid for. Liability is covered by us, as well as $5 million policy from the bus company. So that's not what was true. And as a result, a lot of parents bowed out at that point. They said, okay, well, we can't go. Our registration's already 2 weeks late. We have to do it on our own. Couldn't find this, couldn't find that. I'm just saying all that to say, it was also mentioned that Parks and Rec coaches would not be allowed to ride this bus, which, by the way, will pick people up at 10 o'clock at Walmart parking lot, which makes no sense to me because it's a free service offered to you. And also, so is the lodging. They were told that they would have to supply their own lodging and food. This is all paid for by State Special Olympics. It seems to me to be a little bit fiscally, I don't want to say irresponsible, but irresponsible not to take them up on that. Anyway, coaches are covered, lodging and meals is covered. We extend a formal invitation. If you can find your way around your policy to let them ride, they're certainly welcome. What I really wanted to kind of bring this to a close with is we didn't have to be here. And it doesn't matter, and I'm really proud that they're finally figured out that they need a director, that if we had talked back then, 8, 9 months ago, we would have known these things. We would have been able to handle them then without this, constant back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And so what I'm proposing, Mr. McMasters, is the liaison to Parks and Rec, a working group composed of both athletes and parents to sit down with Parks and Rec employees, especially this new therapeutic director, and iron these things out, not 2 weeks after the deadline, not when these things have already gone by, plan in advance. This could have happened and should have happened.
Thank you, Mr.
I rest my...
What's your name? Okay, Mr. Griffin.
I don't know that I have much more to say. Just let's get together. Let's work together. Let's have a group.
Yeah, I hear you. I do think, and I think Mr. Griffin, Mr. Griffin, I think you and I talked on the phone.
We did.
Okay. And that's what I do think we've got to get the new person in place, and then there has to be that type of that type of communication. Sure, that's fine, but the new person will be running this program, so it's important that they're talking to parents. Sure.
First off, look, I take responsibility for this, okay?
Hey, let him talk.
Here's part of what's going on. Who are you? Who are you? My name's Jason. But when we had somebody leave, especially somebody that's been in that position for such a long time, is the people that we've got doing have come in, and they're doing the best they can. But you just don't have the same folks that have been doing it that whole time. And it's like Council President saying, is hopefully, our hope is we get somebody in that can come in and have that expertise, to have that same heart for it. Because at the end of the day, we want somebody to love it. Because that's what it's been about the whole time. And it breaks my heart to hear this, because that program's always been about loving it. Right? And I've seen that, and that's been a big part of the reason I wanted to be a part of it. And I just want y'all to know, I don't want, look, I know there's hurt feelings right now, but we can get over that. And you're right, it's going to take conversation between all of us, so we're willing to do that, okay?
Thanks, Jason. Jacqueline Harper. Jacqueline Harper. Seen me.
I think she was going to give her time to whoever else needed.
Rodney Gann.
I'm Rodney Gann. I'm friends with some of these. We moved to Decatur in 1986 and have lived here since. My wife and I are native Alabamians, but we lived out of state for 8 years in Tennessee. And we've seen special education programs that are outstanding. But here in Decatur, the program, when we moved here, was especially outstanding at that time. It had started, I think, a couple of years prior to us moving here. The shirt I'm wearing is to honor someone that just recently died. Chief Ed Taylor, he has a son that was in special ed Olympics and is still in swimming and everything. My son, Jake, is here. He was on the swim team, one of the youngest members, and he can outswim me. In the Boy Scout troop, of which our church had, that catered some to Special Olympic athletes, he was the first scout in our troop to swim a mile. And he learned that from Decatur Park and Recreations because they taught him to swim. And he can still swim. He can still outswim me. It took 6 years before we had another Boy Scout that could swim a mile. He can wear a mile swim patch on his bathing suit, and I doubt that anyone else here can do it. The Special Olympics, it's not only statewide, very big. If you've never been to a statewide games, you don't know what you're missing. You don't know the excitement of the athletes, the excitement of the population that come to watch them, from friends, relatives, the coverage by television, the coverage by newspaper, and then, as I said, just basically the excitement of the athletes. You know, that's their time to be normal. And they're not disabled, they are able. They have certain special abilities, and that's their time to shine. And shine they do during those Olympic Games. I had 3 pages of notes and everything. I'm not going to just repeat anything, but I know one thing. To hire one special therapeutics director, one person cannot do it. You're going to have to hire someone that is very capable, and you're going to have to make sure the salary is up there enough to get the person you need. Now, the other thing is you're going to have to rely on volunteers, or you're going to have to hire some part-time individuals, possibly at minimum wage if it's a college student or someone that wants to help coach things. like I said, if you've never been to the state Special Olympic Games, you have no idea of the venue and the location for that. They're even having to go to Troy to use and find enough bowling alleys for just the people that are coming from statewide to bowl. There's not enough bowling alleys in Montgomery to do it. They have their track and field events. Now, we just recently finished the state basketball competition. Every year that my son had been involved in the basketball competition, and he still is, we've come home with medals. Never anything less than a bronze, usually silver and gold. And he's wearing a bunch of medals around his neck right now that he's won in the Special Olympics. He's got more than a month. And the thing is, with these kids, it is just, you just don't realize unless you go. And one therapeutic director cannot go down there, and she can't be on one side of Montgomery and on the other side. You've got to have someone to help coach everything. We had our basketball coach that we had this year.
Last point, yep.
He did the best that he could. And he saw the level of competition that he was against. But we came home with silver, and we only lost the gold by 3 points. And when we played one game here, when we played Lawrence County, kids in Lawrence County, they started texting kids out at Brewer, where my son is still the basketball manager for 27 years for all the boys' teams out there. And when Jake went in that afternoon to help with the basketball practice of the normal boys, those boys hit him at the door saying, "Who was this guy that can slam dunk?" That's a Special Olympian that can slam dunk and can hit a three-pointer from beyond professional range. Probably four times out of 5 shots he would make it, and my son can shoot almost as well, so he's not tall enough to slam dunk.
Thank you.
And then we've got other athletes. We've got swimmers
Mr.
sitting over
Gann,
here.
I'm sorry, we got to move on to the next.
We just,
Yes.
I don't want to be angry, but we're very concerned, and there
understand.
needs to be something done about it.
Yes, sir, thank you. Lydia again. Go ahead.
We just, well, I've said basically everything. We want to work with you with Park and Recs, but we want you also to look at, and I've been working in government before. Billy Jackson knows that I've been working in government since I've lived here in Decatur, since '86. You need to look at increasing the budget. There needs to be more than one person. You need to have some provisions made for assistant coaches to coach each of these programs, because one person can't do it all. And you can't always rely on volunteers.
Thank you. Justin Shepard. I've had Mr. Shepard next. Yeah. That's fine. What's your name, sir? Okay. I got you.
I'm here to thank you and Park and Rec for what you've done for the special needs community. I've been involved with special needs since 1976 as a member of the Decatur Civitan Club, current president. And we have worked with Park and Rec hand in hand for all these years with boots on the ground and money in hand. At one time, we financed the entire Special Olympics operation in this city before Park and Rec ever got involved. And I thank you for what you've done. The point I want to make is this. There are 2 areas in our lives that are underfunded: the elderly and the special needs. Now, a lot of service organizations are stepping in and making up for deficiencies. And as a good example, Civitan is the only service organization in the world that has a research facility in Birmingham, Alabama, at UAB, with 100 people searching for the reason and the cause of IDD. And a lot of strides have been made. But bringing back to Decatur, we're not here begging. We're not here to coerce or in any way put pressure But our point is common sense, empathy, not sympathy, but empathy. Because you are dealing with the kindest, the best, maybe not the brightest, but the most accomplished for the abilities that they have. And working with Park and Rec, we go from anywhere from 7 to 9 events a year where we put our money in our mouth and our time. So we're asking you to use some common sense and hiring somebody with empathy, somebody with ability, and somebody with a heart and love for our special needs citizens. Thank you.
Justin Shepherd.
Good evening. I got a question before she starts my time, which she already did, so whatever. Do I get an additional 3 minutes since I was deprived last meting of my constitutional right?
This meeting.
I mean, I'm sorry?
It's for this meeting, this signage.
Oh, for this meeting.
Yep.
Right. All right. Would you say that community participation in city council meetings has increased since September 29th?
Yes.
Okay, so is it your objective to not hear from the community as much? Because I've heard for a lot of calls for discontinuing public comment.
Not from me.
Okay, that's great. So one issue, there wasn't enough agendas out there at the city council meeting, and it almost feels like you guys are trying to prevent citizens from knowing topics being discussed or community feedback. Because that'd be a prime, subtle way of preventing that, is to not allow citizens to know what's going on. And I wanted to put it out there that city people or representatives from this city have a history of discriminating against individuals with disabilities. I, for one, have been discriminated against and even made fun of by employees of this city while they're on the clock. So to give you guys an idea of what you're working with here. Also, you guys might all, especially you, Pepper, might want to research the ADA and its responsibilities. That's federal law. So I got a question. How many arrests were made when the KKK and white supremacists marched in Decatur?
I don't know.
How many have been arrested for Steve Perkins marches? So, how many people were arrested at the event that you attended, Tab?
I'm not sure which event you're
The event that you attended where you allegedly took a picture with the known white supremacist.
I don't have a picture with a white supremacist. You said allegedly. I don't have I think you're making something up, Justin.
Well, I mean, you can think all you want, but facts are facts. Anyway, so my other issue was that, and this, I'm not sure if this is McMaster's issue or not, but there's some mailboxes on Central Parkway where there's no passing. And so when the mail truck is there delivering mail, cars are either held up or they pass the mail truck in a no passing zone, which I take it would be illegal.
I would imagine so. Cross a double yellow line.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, I would imagine crossing a double yellow line is illegal.
Are you guys going to do anything about that? Or, because that sounds like something dangerous, especially if it's already been designated no passing, to have to pass a mail truck that's making frequent stops along that route?
Yeah, I'd have to look into that.
Okay. And then, Tab, do you have any ideas or solutions to address the direct disobedience of DPD policies?
State your question again.
Please. Do you have any ideas or solutions to address the direct disobedience of DPD policies?
I don't know that we have direct disobedience of DPD policies.
You'll find out from the lawsuits. How will these officers be reprimanded now or in the future for breaking policies?
The standard process.
What is that? Do you know?
We've explained that from the time that we've been meeting in here as to how the process is done. The department director ends up working with the human resources and the legal department, and it's determined if the policy violation, if one has been violated, is handled on the department level or if it comes to the mayor for a determination here.
Will you support a temporary commission to come in and oversee the rightship of bad behavior coming from DPD?
You talking about like a citizen group?
A commissioner, a temporary commissioner. Excuse me, I'm going to say commissioner.
Yeah, I would need to know the qualifications. I mean, it's a kind of a...
So you'd be open to that then?
I'd need to learn more about what you're talking about.
A commissioner? Okay. What do you think is acceptable timeline for any action to change in the DPD?
Hey, you're welcome to come talk with me, set up an appointment, come visit the office, and I'll be glad to talk with you.
Yeah, like you talked to me about giving me a lawyer's number, right?
No, sir, I actually met
will
with
you
in my
support
office.
a third-party internal investigation into the sixth scrimmage of current DPD officers, regardless of rank?
Justin, did I meet with you in my office?
I'm sorry?
Did I meet with you in the office, in my office?
If you will meet me at a selected location and be subject to searches and whoever I say can be in the meeting.
That's right. But did
If you're willing to come to my office
I asked you
and go by my rules. And then my last question is, how will you support the African American community with ordinances that help elevate the community with actionable policies?
I look at the community as a whole.
That's all.
Thanks, Justin. Deshaun Hines.
All right, I'm gonna make this quick. It's a great day to get Justice Steve.
Yes, it is.
How you doing, Mr. Jackson?
Fine, how are you?
All right. First, I just want to say, Justice Steve, I am Steve Perkins, Controller Strong, Justice Jaden. Tab is a racist and a bigot and the modern day Bull Connor. And Joe Renshaw is a psychopath with a badge and
All right,
needs to be off the force.
sir, just address council with any question. Yeah, we can't denigrate city employees. No. We're talking about city employees. We can't do that.
Okay. Well, can I talk about the chief?
There was a city employee.
Can I speak on the chief?
It does not need to be personal attacks on the chief. If you have questions about the
I'm
chief,
speaking for the community.
if you have questions about the chief that we can answer, that's fine. But we're not going to have personal attacks.
All right. So when will? Forget it.
Thank you. Will Landers.
Pepper, do you remember what you said last week as I was walking off? Let me read this. If people wouldn't commit crimes, we wouldn't have a problem. That was after I gave you these stats. I'm going to go over them again. 500% prison population increase since the 70s. 5% global population, but 20% of the global prison population. That makes us the largest police state in the world. Okay? 13% of the U.S. population are black people. But they make up 40% of the prison population and 50% of wrongful convictions. Black men on average serve 19% longer sentences than white men. Black men make up 40% of life sentences in the world's largest police state. Can you do basic math? Do you see a pattern of behavior? I'm asking you a question.
I see a pattern of crime, sure.
I'm not done yet. 1 out of 3 black boys born today can be expected to go to prison in their lifetime,
How can you say
compared to 1 out of 17 white boys. How can I say that? The numbers are there. You just do math.
That's not right. So you're telling me that you're basing
ACLU, you can find it.
Okay, I'm glad you look up that. Of course you do. Either way,
am I not supposed to know what I'm talking about?
Obviously you're not. So you're telling me that you can base. You're telling me you can base something off of someone.
Guys, come on.
You're telling me you can base something off of someone being born already? I mean, so you're telling me that 1 out of 3 like ones that are born
So if we have the numbers,
I
will break it down Barney style for you if you need me to.
Let me finish what I'm saying. So you're telling me that you can base something off of something like that.
Do you know how stats work?
Of course I do, but I don't
So if
think
we
that
have
your
the
stats
amount of
ain't
black
correct.
people
Where do you
that
get
are wrongfully,
your stats?
ACLU.
Is that the only place you get them?
FBI, where do you think they get them from?
Okay, well, I tell you what, why don't you present some of these statistics that you have, or email them to me, and then we'll go from there.
You know what?
If you're going to come up here and
I will
speak on
come
them,
up
and you're
here
going to
again.
educate everybody on them.
I will
Be sure that
restate
you
every
have the
stat if you
correct
want.
statistics
You know what?
whenever
It'll be
you're
in your
willing to
inbox.
present.
It'll be in your inbox.
Please send it away. I'm looking
Okay,
forward
so
to
with
it.
all that being said, are you still you still wave like the thin blue line flag and all that?
I think there's one hanging in front of my house.
Well, it's on your cover photo on Facebook as well. And I just wanted to say that anyone
I don't think
who
it is
waves
on
a
my
thin
cover
blue
photo.
line flag these days,
Oh, it is actually,
just
no.
traded in their white pointy hood for it. That's all I'm saying. Hey, Cap. Justice for Steve and Jane Doe Garnett.
That's lovely. Lovell Craig. All right, I got you. Anissa Sophia.
Okay. Quick question, Jacob. Do you think city employees are above citizens?
Hey, let's restart, Stephanie. I can't hear the speaker, so let's try to I'm trying to hear, so go ahead.
Do you think city employees are above the community?
No.
Because I feel like we're able to voice our concerns about
I
city
would not allow
employees.
anyone up here to, I hope I would not, and if I do, you correct me, but I don't think anyone up here should be personally attacking anyone out there either, so I would say
Have you
equal.
told Joe Renshaw or Jack Brown that?
I have not talked to either.
Okay. I wanted to ask a question, and anyone can answer except for Pepper, but what does the police liaison in Parks and Rec have in common?
Have in common with,
I knew this was coming.
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
It's one of McMaster's city council assignments. What I'm starting to realize is you all do the bare minimum. You think coming to city council meetings and making Facebook posts, not all of you, but you specifically, is enough, and it's not enough. The elder, he spoke about how there are 2 communities that's being affected, vulnerable communities. I would like to add 2 more: the elderly, special needs, minority groups, and veterans. What I've realized is because of your lack of expertise and knowledge, those specific groups are suffering. You're not doing enough. When the gentleman came up here and asked you why you weren't at the advisory meetings, well, it's a civilian review board, which Nate Allen created. There's not an ordinance for that board, but the chief appoints who's part of that board. Until we get an ordinance for it, he can dictate who's there or not. As the police liaison, because he is your friend, he can allow you in those meetings. The fact that you're not there, you don't know what's being discussed, is an issue. It's a problem. You can go to those meetings just like he goes, and you can go just like the board members who sit in that committee go. All you have to do is call him and say when it is. We, the community, we don't even know what's being discussed on the behalf of the community in those meetings because we did not appoint them, which leads me to 2 more things. Ty Pena needs oversight. There needs to be commissioner over him. We need someone to look over him until he transitions out, until the new chief transition in. It needs to be a community-led decision. That means that commissioner answers to the councilman. He does not answer to the mayor. That leads me to my next form of action, a public safety advisory committee. I spoke to an executive of a federal group, meaning the government funded them, the National Oversight Civilian of Law Enforcement. She's the executive director. How long were we in a meeting with her, Terrence? 2 hours. Okay. They are willing to come down here and do all the work for us.
I got Lovell, so.
The committee can step in, write the ordinance for both the commissioner and the Public Safety Advisory Committee. It will be a community-led advisory committee, which means we will answer to you all, but we will come meet you all halfway and have discussions in regards to the committee. These are 2 action forms that we can do right now. So I plan on having meetings with each of you to discuss this further so we can get this done. So I don't want to hear anything about what we can't do, because I just gave you 2 action plans that we've already done the work for you. So you're welcome.
Walter Orr.
I ain't going that way, y'all today. Not today, not today. Well, what I am happy to see is that y'all stay. Y'all, I'm glad to see y'all stay. Now more educated people are starting to see what we are up against. We're not going to get any answers up here. We're not going to get nothing from what's up here. So I hope that y'all keep this same energy when it comes time to vote and realize what we've been going through. Because if it wasn't for us publicizing this and speaking up, y'all wouldn't know what was going on inside here, man. And I'm hoping that we see more of y'all come in and sit down and listen to what's going on, because you see they don't care. If they don't care about the special needs, they don't care about blacks, you see that already. Y'all are no different. You feel what I'm saying to you? If y'all are vulnerable, you need help, they don't care to help you. And when you put plans in front of them for help, they don't support it. So now that lets you know who to vote in and who to vote out, and where we stand as a whole in this community. So I just want to say thank y'all for saying that. I'm going to leave it like that.
Kim Jackson. Kim Jackson. Mike Faruqi. Well, just, are you?
Kim Jackson.
Kim Jackson.
Yeah. Listen to me. How y'all doing? Listen to me. Here's why I'm here. I saw an ad in the paper the other day, and I was so overwhelmed about the ad. I mean, I didn't know what the ad story. And it said to the mayor, it said, do your job or resign.
That's right.
Did you put that in the paper?
No.
Did you put it in there? No. Do you feel like that though? You feel like you're doing his job?
I read it.
Okay, so how do you feel about it?
Hey guys, come on.
Come on. How you feel about it? Okay, don't worry about it. Mr. Pepper, how you feel about that?
I think if the mayor is not doing his job, then he should resign, but I believe...
Yeah, stop. That's all. That's it. How do you feel? How do you feel?
No, you're not catching me up.
I don't want to talk to him
I feel
anymore.
as if the mayor is not doing his job, then yes, he should resign. But
Thank you.
I do believe he's doing his job.
All right. You want me to, I'm going to give you
Okay, go ahead.
the mayor's job. I mean, I've talked about this a few times since the last few, actually, years. The mayor's primary responsibility, I'm going somewhere.
Okay.
Is, his primary responsibility is to run the operations of the city. That's his primary responsibility. So directors report to him, really the whole city does. He's a CEO function. But he also, as an elected official, as the mayor, is supposed to be a leader and is supposed to step up and lead. And I think, you hear athletes a lot of times say, when I felt like I could no longer do the job, it was time to retire, resign. Tom Brady, Tiger Woods has said that. And I think that if you're not willing to listen to citizens, whether or not you disagree. And look, y'all, I've told y'all this. I'm getting hammered on emails every week about shut this down. What we're doing right now, shut it down. And I'm not going to do it. But I think that if you're not willing to sit there and listen to everybody, if you're not willing to step in the gap when there's a big leadership void, as there has been, and if you're not willing to show up for the state of the city, I really question if you're still wanting to do the job. So, I would echo some of what. And the reason I'm hesitant to just say so-and-so should resign is two reasons. One is it could appear, although all of you know this is not true, it could appear self-serving to me. If I want to be the mayor, I need the mayor to resign, because I'd be the mayor in a temporary way. I don't want that, and y'all know that. But I would also say, well, I'll leave it at that. So democracy works like this. If you don't like the leaders you have a chance to change that. And the best way to change that is at the ballot box. That's how this system was set up. We have bad leaders all across this country. And the way to fix it is when you vote. And that's all I'll say about that.
Okay, Mr. Jackson.
I've been very clear the entire time that the mayor, just like our police chief does in the police department, the mayor sets a culture for the entire city of Decatur. And when you're not doing your job, I think it trickles down and employees think that they don't have to do their job. So if the mayor's not willing to do his job, and let's be clear, this is a council meeting. It's not a council and mayor's meeting. But with the crucial things that are going on in our city right now, especially with the Steve Perkins situation, I think he is basically obligated not only to meet with you as individuals. He talked about meeting with Justin as an individual, but he is obligated to be here to listen. Now, can anybody make him leave? Absolutely not. Or make him leave his office. No. Make him leave his office. No. Sorry. But the fact is very simply that he should be here. And we talk about him not doing his job in other aspects, and I agree with that completely. So I do think that it is important that if you're not going to do your job in this position, that the mayor should step down and anyone else who's not going to do the job.
That's right.
Okay.
My turn. I've said, I think it's been asked many times about, Tab leaving the meetings. I've said from the very beginning, I think that he should be here. In a time like this, the city needs a leader. And it takes more than just one person, we all know that. But in that role, you should be willing to pull up a chair and talk, even in disagreements. And we know that not everybody's going to disagree. I think the mayor has shown what he is and is not willing to do throughout this process. And, personally, I think it's a disservice to citizens, specifically those that voted for him. Jacob brought up the state of the city. He should have been there. I was honored to sit up there with Mr. McMasters and talk through it, but that was his event. That is something he should do. I think it sends a bad signal to the community, to the businesses in our community. And so, I think he does need to reassess his role and his willingness to do his job.
Now here's one mayor. These are councilmen, just like you are. Okay, y'all seen the same cams. You've heard the same things. You've seen the TV things. You've seen all the news reports. The same thing they've seen. They've seen the same thing. Y'all seen his actions just like they have. Why is your report so different?
What report?
So now so how you feel about him leaving and not addressing the city?
I've mentioned that before. I think he should.
Everything you say, you mentioned it before. But say it again, then. Because I don't understand. I didn't get it. How do you feel about him getting up here, leaving, or not even pretending to addressing the city?
I don't think he should have done it. And I've said that before. I got a phone call 24 hours prior to the event. Hey, and Councilman Pike and I, that's what we did. It's kind of touching on what Jacob said, and in a lack of leadership, somebody's got to do it. And, I was honored to.
So you think he leading pretty good?
Rodney, listen, and I know everybody over here is going to boo, but I have really tried to make it a point not to say anything disparaging about anybody, and I'm going to try to continue to do that,
Well, here's a question. You ain't got to say it, but I say, you feel like if you're not doing your job, then you ought to resign.
If you are not doing your job, you don't need to have it. Yes, I agree with that.
I said if you're not doing your job, I think you ought to resign. You think that way?
If you're not doing your job, you should resign.
Yeah. Good. I'd like to hear that. I mean, that's all the question I got. All right. Oh, yeah, one more time, yeah. The special needs. Hey, I got 26 children, special needs. Some of them I had 15 years, all right? I give you some information where you can get training for MAC 1, give medicine, MAC 1, MAC 2. You can get training for, to help them with the hygiene, the whole nine. Now, take that right there and do it. Now, another thing with the special needs, y'all, they're gonna have to have some help. I'm talking about for real. And if you ain't got no heart for this, I can see why the city in the situation is in.
Mike Faruqi.
Okay, based on what I heard tonight, the comment about the speed of right, I laugh at that. The speed of right is moving at the speed of a turtle. The speed of right versus a fear of what might happen. Come on, we have to, as councilmen, legislators within the city, make the hard calls, make the right calls, and quickly. Admonish and censure Mayor Tab Bowling for the misuse of city facilities and material and abuse of authority. Whereas an elected official should act at all times with integrity in accordance with their oath of office. I'm assuming you all gentlemen would agree with that. Whereas elected officials should not abuse their privileges and provide the appearance of impropriety. And whereas Mayor Tab Bowling did on Sunday, 28 April, lead a private and exclusive pickleball session at the Decatur Aquadome, a date the facility was not scheduled to be open to the public. And whereas Mayor Tab Bowling acknowledged doing so because it was too windy to play outside, and even though the public did use the open outdoor facilities at Austin and Walter Jackson the same day, and whereas Mayor Tab Bowling admits to having a key to the Aquadome and that he has used the facility previously in this manner, and whereas a member or members of the City Council know that Mayor Tab Bowling did use the facility similarly during the most recent ice storm in January, and advise that these actions are a violation of the State Ethics Commission rules. Be it resolved by the City Council of Decatur in the state of Alabama as follows. Section 1. An unofficial access to VIP passes and facilities under dominion of the City of Decatur Parks and Recs be suspended for the duration of Mayor Tab Bowling's tenure. That any keys to such facilities be immediately revoked and made available only after written approval from the Director of Parks and Recreation in writing and a mandatory intent and purpose provided by the requester. Section 2, Mayor Tab Bowling is officially admonished and censured by the legislative branch of the City of Decatur, herewith the City Council. This is a resolution you all ought to maybe take up.
Thank you. Should be coming back down. Sharon Stanley. Looks like Sharon Stanley. All right, Mike spoke.
Okay, I'm gonna stand back. Okay, so how many months we been in this? We've been in here 8 months. And the gentleman was saying, like, what have we gotten done? We got an ordinance done and that's it. It's time for us to get some work done. Every week we hearing something dealing with this police department. Last week it was with Jaheem's situation. Y'all, I'm not even going to go in details on that. I'll let him go in details on that. It's something all the time, but McMasters, y'all are not getting anything done. Y'all saying we're sitting down at the table with the chief. We're not doing nothing but mumbling because he doesn't hear us. This chief is not for the city of Decatur. A lot of these officers are not for the city of Decatur. They're not from here, so they don't have an interest in this place. And that chief needs to be gone. He needs oversight, as Anissa said, until he transitions out. Going to the mayor. The mayor needs to do his job or he needs to go home. I would ask that the people that are closest to him, the stakeholders and everybody, would tell him to go home. This city has turned into shambles and he's not here to lead it. My grandparents, don't cough with me, my grandparents were pastors. And one thing that they used to say in church was that if you put a 10-cent preacher in a $10 million church, it won't take long for that 10-cent preacher bring it down to a 10-cent church. That is what the mayor has done with the city of Decatur. He has brought our standards down. Going to the special needs. Kelly, you did something to me when you said something about Kelly. Kelly has a heart of gold. She has ran this program for many years. And Kelly is one of the best people that's ever worked in the city as a city employee. So be careful when you say something. This program is a program that's needed in the city of Decatur. They need all the funding because you waste money everywhere else. You bought a Christmas tree that was over $100,000, but then you can't give help to the special needs community. They need us. They need those programs. You know, I had a special needs person when I worked at Kerry Matthews. They used to come and work for me, used to come and work for us 2 days a week. They need this. They need that outing. So that shouldn't be, are we going to decide to give them what they need? No, we're going to give them what they need. That's right. And again, take one of the pickleball courts away. That's right. And the mayor, do us a favor and go ahead and resign. You're not doing your job. And I hate saying that because you're in a lame duck session, but if you're not going to do nothing but collect a check, let's get his insurance packet together and let's send him home. It's time for the mayor to go. I'm going to end right here. I'm going to end right here with Todd. Todd is not doing anything. Nothing. He's not trying to change the culture. That police department is still out of control like it was 8 months ago. Y'all can say you having secret meetings. It's all, it's just out there. Y'all, we're not doing the real meetings for real. We're not sitting up there talking about facts. We need to sit down and get a commissioner oversight over Todd Pinion before he wrecked this city. It's already wrecked. It's ready.
Arthur Souffrant.
All right, so I looked up who all of you are, and you all have families, right? Let's say that you have a rule in your house that says no cookies throughout the week, right? After work, you come home and you notice a cookie jar open with a cookie missing. In this analogy, you have 2 children. You ask to see their hands, knowing full well one of them went in and is still holding the cookie behind their back. Then you ask, not only do they emphatically tell you no, they also hide their hands further behind their back. You, knowing how your children are, understand that they are scared of punishment, but you don't relent because you also know that they know better than to break the rules. You ask again and again, exercising generous amounts of patience, but getting more and more stern because they are being unreasonably secretive. At this point, you begin to wonder what's really behind their back. You know that the cookie is gone, but this level of resistance isn't warranted by a stolen cookie. You begin to wonder what else are they hiding? Why are they so hell-bent on not showing their hands? We the people are the parent. The police department is the children. And the full body cam footage of that unfortunate night is the cookies. at this point, we have seen some of the crumbs that you wanted to keep hidden behind your back. But we not only already know what the footage proves the guilt of more than just one officer, but we have strong and pretty certain inclinations that there is much more violent and criminal things that you want to keep behind your back. The integrity and the respect and the ability to be viewed as honorable has went down the drain for the Decatur Police Department a long time ago. Now, all that's left is a strong, founded, well beliefs of corruption deep within this system. Please prove us wrong and get full justice for Steve. As one. I have a few questions now. If I, a citizen, were to commit a violent crime in front of officers, how would I be dealt with in that moment? In front of officers, how would I, not rhetorical?
Committed a violent crime.
If I punch someone in the face right in front of officers.
With violence, maybe.
Okay.
Force.
Okay. Would that be the appropriate way of dealing with me?
Protecting someone else, yes.
Okay. Now, in that same scenario, let's say that I'm an off-duty police officer and I commit the same crime in front of other officers. According to the current laws, should I be dealt with in the same ways? And would that be an appropriate way of dealing with me?
I'm sorry, can you repeat?
If I'm an off-duty police officer and I punch some random person in the face in front of an on-duty police officer, what happens to me?
They should be dealt with in the same manner.
In the same exact way? Are you certain? Okay. Now, same scenario, same crime, same everything. Let's say that the only difference is now I'm an active duty officer. My uniform is on, all right? Would anything change in a world where all the rules are followed? Should I be reprimanded in that exact moment like I'm a normal citizen, or does something change that allows me to wait to receive my punishment and maybe even lessen the magnitude of it?
I would assume that if a police officer is putting his hands on someone, if he's on duty, on active duty, that he's arresting that individual, and that if he's throwing a punch, I mean, I'd assume they're resisting.
Okay, so if...
That would be my assumption. I would assume that officer is defending himself. There we go.
Not in this scenario. Not in the scenario at all.
Sir,
not in the scenario.
If you can just wrap up the last point.
Can I get some sign? Appreciate it.
What's your name, sir? Gotcha.
Appreciate it. In this scenario, no, there's no resisting or anything. You just punch someone in the face with his uniform on. What punishment does he get in that moment?
He should be treated the same as anybody else. If he assaulted someone.
Okay. I understand that there was a police officer fired, correct?
In this.
Mr. Lander, we're getting off on particular scenarios. I'm not saying something bad. All I'm saying is we don't need to.
If there's specific things, you're going through hypotheticals, fine.
I'm getting to a point.
Yeah, just keep it hypothetical, not...
Yeah, that'd be good.
Okay.
Excuse me for interrupting, I just didn't want you to go too far.
Hypothetically, was there an officer fired?
In what situation?
In a situation where there was someone who was shot in front of
I think that's been pretty public, so yes.
He was fired? So, he was fired because he committed a crime?
No.
No, why was he fired then?
Once again,
yeah, we can't. But there were public. The public part of this, where there were 3 officers that were terminated.
So, if I were to go, or if someone hypothetically were to go into someone's front yard at 1 o'clock in the morning with 2 other individuals and light up someone who's defending their property, would all 3 go to jail, or would one of them just be fired from their job?
Mr. Lander, once again, that is a particular
We're not going to answer that.
All right. One last one. That was the second one. This is the last one. Do you guys support the community?
Yes.
Yes.
You all support the community? Do you feel for the community? You empathize and sympathize with us?
Absolutely, yes.
Why is it that we disagree with you on everything then?
That's a good question.
I don't agree with what you're saying.
You don't agree that we disagree?
No. There are items we certainly agree on, and I've had good conversations with folks. There are certain items we disagree on, for sure.
On the reasons that we have been gathered here today for, so many disagreements have been had up to this point. How can we be in support of one another if you guys are always disagreeing and always against?
Yeah, I don't agree with your assessment.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's the point.
I'm
That's
just-
exactly what I'm saying, right?
Well, no. You're not having an honest conversation with me. You're not, because what I'm telling you is...
He's stopping me.
No. What I'm telling you is I don't think you're right that we have disagreed on everything. And I think there are people that are sitting out here that would agree with that. We certainly have disagreed on some things, but for you to say we've disagreed on everything is not factual.
I don't mean to use an absolute, you're right.
Sure.
Why do we disagree on so many things?
Because we all have our own opinions.
Okay.
We're all entitled to our own opinions.
Okay. What does a blue stripe mean to you on the flag?
It's a blue stripe.
He has the blue stripe, the Blue Lives Matter flag on his.
Oh, to that specific flag?
Yeah.
It's supporting the police, in my opinion, yeah.
Okay. Do the police that commit crimes deserve the same support?
No. Anybody that commits a crime doesn't deserve support from anybody. If you're committing a crime, you're asking for the punishment that you are going to receive.
Would anything have happened if there was no evidence to the officer that got fired? Would anything have happened to him?
Mr. Okay, I'm sorry. but that's
Lisa,
gonna be held in this
you're next. Lisa. Whoa.
He's getting my name.
Okay. I'm sorry.
Lisa.
Yep, gotcha.
You know, I just don't want to hear anybody say anything else about protesters destroying the city or doing anything to the city, because we can already see that the city is on fire already. We don't have directors in certain positions. The most marginalized communities are standing in front of you on the left and right saying, look, y'all need to come and do something. And nobody is doing anything but obfuscating the duties that they have been elected to do. So what are you all going to do? Like, we're heading into y'all's last year on council, and the only thing that I've seen is this city descend into chaos. And it's just weird to me that y'all are here, y'all ran for office, and y'all just sit here and say yes to everything except for what we want. Y'all say yes to everything except for what the community wants, what these families here have come for today. I haven't seen anything that y'all have done that has been beneficial towards the community, and that's my personal opinion. Y'all can take it how you want. But as a citizen of Decatur for over 30 years, this has been the worst time of my life in this city. And I don't see how people who are similar to my age, because, you know, they always say, you know, when the old ones die off, it's gonna change. That's what they said. But it doesn't change. It has not changed. Nobody's paying attention. And like I've said many times, I'm standing in the same place as my granddaddy. And y'all just looking at me, just stone faced. Nobody cares. And to Jacob, to the people in your inbox that are telling you to get rid of public comment, tell them to come outside and be an actual citizen of Decatur.
I respond to every email and I tell them I completely disagree.
Well, I'll tell them while they're watching. Come outside and be an actual citizen of Decatur and learn who's in your community, because it's not just the black community that's fighting for justice for Steve, it's everybody. And we're not just fighting for justice for Steve, we're fighting for justice for everybody. I was a Special Olympics volunteer in high school. So this is an issue that is close to my heart. So as long as we stand together as a community, y'all won't be here next year.
That's right.
Cornelius Eccles.
Hey, how y'all doing? I was doing some reading the other day down in Mobile, where the council board threw off, I think they started an investigation with their chief. Can't y'all do that? You always answer the question.
That actually came from their mayor.
Because there was a study done at the request of the mayor regarding the police department.
It was at the request of the mayor.
So the request came from the mayor to invest the allegations of that mobile.
Yeah, actually.
But it said a councilman in the prison.
Actually, I'm glad you brought this up. It's interesting reading about the powers that council does or does not have over a police department policy. In fact, you probably read that one of their councilmen said he was told he could be charged with a misdemeanor if he were to direct police policy.
Okay, I was just curious of that.
But that's not our case.
It could be. There's some real questions that the AG needs to answer around that.
Yeah, but I know that they launched, I know that pretty much the councilman or the mayor felt some type of way about the chief. And
the mayor did, yes.
With the mayor did, and he put in an investigation on him, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I had another thing. It's been a video floating around with the KKK marching around in 1979. When I mind you, if y'all forgot, that was the day that my grandmother got shot in the face by the KKK, which they only got, I think they got community service and was told not to, participate in white supremacists. You can look it up. I had the case number. I think it's like 50, 80, 14, 16 or something like that. But they peacefully marched and still shot somebody. So I'm wondering why we can't do the same. So.
To march?
I'm saying this video of the KKK marching up and down Vine Street in 1979, police officers, I've got the video. I can request it to be played at the next meeting if you like.
I think you have, we've been marching, right?
No, what I'm saying peacefully. I'm talking about peacefully. Okay. I'm talking without being bothered, you know what I mean, without being harassed and guns. I'm talking about police stopping all their duties in Decatur to come see what we're doing. You know what I mean, to antagonize us. But in 1979, the KKK peacefully walked and shot people as well. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? And I don't even think they was arrested that day, Jake. But you know what I mean? That was my grandmother. You know what I mean? So I kind of got something like a personal type of feeling towards that. But to see us do this now, you know what I mean? And it get hit with all type of stuff. You're gonna get hit with all type of lawsuits. But us to get hit with all that, and then to see that in 1979, and see the Decatur police officers peacefully go with the KKK and escort them. You know what I mean? Like it shows everything, man. It just shows everything. I don't know when it's gonna change, but just for everybody, you know, we all human, right? Nobody is bigger than the other. Nobody is above the law, and it should always be that way, man. No matter what color you are. I'm O positive. I can save everybody's life in here, man, if needed. And everybody should think the same way, man.
Thank you.
They wouldn't sign off on a unity march.
Catrella, Perkins, you're signed in. Next is Danny. Danny. Billy.
My concern is, are we welcome to just go on third Friday, the blacks, are we welcome downtown?
Yes.
Oh, okay, well, I read that, what Crenshaw said that we wouldn't.
I got it.
Officer Renshaw said that we wouldn't welcome them.
Well, you're welcome downtown.
And the mayor had a write-up that we wouldn't welcome.
I don't care what they said, you're welcome downtown.
I understand, but, you know, that was my daughter down there. They was, you know, peaceful, and they were supporting Steve Perkins, that you know, had been murdered. He don't think so, but he had. And she had my granddaughter with her. And is Renshaw working the streets now?
I don't know, and we can't get into specifics on.
But I understand, but I filed a complaint, but I haven't heard anything from that. And he harassed my daughter and he assaulted her. And he left my granddaughter alone in a crowd of people. And some guy got her and brought her down to the city, and for nothing. I mean, they just arrested, even Alvin, They grabbed him for nothing. Marquita Diggs, the sweetest little lady you want to meet, she cried like a baby. That's her cousin. For nothing. Why would y'all let him get by with this stuff, and he putting those stun guns on people's chests in handcuffs? He's out of control. So he's still on the beat?
I don't know.
But something's gonna have to be done. I mean, they assaulted my daughter. So had no one talked to him?
No.
Have y'all seen the video?
So, they saw it.
Danny. Sophia.
How's everybody doing?
All right.
All right, so the first thing that I wanted to say is that you asked a question earlier, and I'm not looking for a response. I'm just going to tell you what it is. You asked a question earlier, how could someone know what someone is going to do before they're born? And it's called statistical analysis is what it's called. You can gain solutions or theoretical solutions from things that have happened already, and then you can take those things that's happened already and you can extrapolate out to see if they are likely to happen again. That is what we call science. The next thing I wanted to say is that Tab did lie today when he said that he doesn't know if any police officers have committed any policy offenses. He fired 3 of them and suspended 1 of them because they did break policy. That is on record. They are appealing right now. And I assume that the policies that the chief gave him under his directive said that they broke policy. He then agreed to fire them. And then because they broke policy, so that's another lie that he set up here and told today. And one more thing I wanted to say, well, it might not be the last thing, is that when we talk about communities that are at risk and communities that need help, we're talking about not only doing what is right and having moral conviction, but we're saying that when there's something that is working correctly, we shouldn't commit more money to it before we commit money to things that aren't working correctly. And I think the city and a lot of cities, and sitting here over the last few months, what we've seen is that this city does commit a lot of money to things that are working, or that things that don't actually have a problem or don't actually need fixing. And then, like T.C. Allman, now everyone has their opinion on why they did it, but that wasn't something that directly at the time needed fixing, but Karen Matthews has been sitting for years. Something that actually needs to be fixed, but it's not being fixed. We talk about Parks and Rec, and we talk about communities that need our assistance and needs more money put to it, and all we can say is that we're going to hire the right person when no one actually goes and looks for the policies and or anything to help those communities. But what we do is we sit here and we say, well, we'll figure it out and we'll see what comes next. I'm just sitting here and I'm calling on everyone on the council that has a sound mind and can actually think for themselves, that what you do now is you take these things that everyone comes up here and asks of you every week. You take the same things that they're asking and you go home and you say, how can I fix this problem? How can I create a solution without someone bringing me the solution and then telling them that I don't know what this solution is because I have to what? Go research the solution they just brought. And that's pretty much all I'm saying. We have to be, like Anisha said before, we have to be proactive and not reactive. And what we're doing now, you all knew they were coming because everyone else knew they were coming, but nobody except Hunter this time thought to be proactive and not reactive. And if we're not going to do that in the future, then there's no point of any business going with the city going on. And that's all I'm saying.
Alvin. Sierra Taylor.
Oh.
I got you.
Hey, so I wasn't gonna speak today, but then police acted stupid on Tuesday. So here I am again. I get tired of dead stares, honestly. That's why I don't care to speak to y'all. None of y'all care. You look at us like we're just talking for no reason. But I am going to speak on what happened on Tuesday because I have his permission to. 21-year-old black male hiding in his closet for fear of his life because 3 Decatur police officers are outside of his door with a warrant that he doesn't have, or saying he has a warrant that he doesn't have. He knew for a fact he didn't have it. It was supposedly for a failure to appear. He had not failed to appear anywhere, so he knew that. His mother was asking for proof of the warrant. There was no proof of this warrant. There was no proof of this warrant because they were actually looking for a white male by the name of James Langford, not a 21-year-old black male by the name of Jaheim Langford. Wrong house, once again, which could have led to another black male in this community dead because they were at his door, guns drawn, trying to go in his home. Guns drawn on a failure to appear. Why? Anyone? Anyone have an answer why they would show up on an FTA with guns drawn?
They targeted the protesters.
I don't know.
He was targeted. That's why. He was targeted as a protester because he was earlier arrested. He had court that Friday. He was targeted. So they dug around till they found something, which is being checked into because we know it was issued at that time so that they had a reason to go into his home, where they confused his mother and made her believe that they had the legal right to go into his home. They did not. They didn't have a search warrant and they had not seen him. So they had no legal right to go into this home. But they did. But the aunt was brave enough to stand up to them and say, "You're not going into this home with them guns out. Put them away. My 5-year-old daughter's in there asleep." Really and truly, they've already buried one teenager to a murder who's still not nothing done about because y'all don't give a crap about the black males in this community.
That's right.
That baby was 16. Back on subject though. They go into his house. They find him in his closet where he's on Facebook Live because he's scared he was fixing to get murdered and he wanted people to know. First off, our black males in this community shouldn't have to hide in their closets for fear of their life. My heart was broke. I rushed to his house. So I was there, chancing myself, chancing a couple other people that was there, because we wanted to make sure that this young man was okay, because we have zero faith that the Decatur police officers will make sure that someone's okay. So they go into his house, they find him in his closet, they take he had an old window out of an old truck sitting in his closet. They take it out. I need time. Derek Taylor. So they go into his house. They take this old window out of his closet first and lay it on his bed, and they try to throw him onto it. He pulls himself to prevent that. They tase him. He wasn't charged with resisting. You have to have a resisting. You have to be actively resisting, physically resisting. There has to be a threat for a taser. But apparently we got really trigger happy on both taser and gun in this city. And that's got to be stopped. And you, Sir McMasters, are supposed to be communicating between us and the police. Start helping our black males. Do something. All I have to tell y'all is that they got him, they arrested him. I requested medical on the scene because when Officer Turner had said, we need to call medical because it is in the Decatur policy handbook that medical is supposed to be summoned to the scene when tasers are used. The lieutenant on scene, Abbott, or however you pronounce his name, denied that medical. He said, no, he's fine. I then said, hold on, he was tased. Why is medical not here? I've got your policy right here. Call medical and get him checked out before you take him to jail. He said, I will not speak to you. I'll only speak to his mother. His mother requested medical. He said he'll get it at the jail. I met him at the jail. He did get medical there because the county gives a crap. Very little, but they care. There's a few of them there. There's a bunch that don't, but there's a few that does. So he was jailed overnight, released the next morning by the judge. Another lawsuit on Decatur City. Congratulations. Okay, so with that being said, you've got a bunch of lawsuits. You've got people that understands that you can't fight fire with fire, but they're ready to turn up the flames. So the city's fixing to get demolished. all because city officials refuse to get rid of a chief and a mayor that can't do their job. You guys can get rid of this chief and get someone in here that can control this police department. You're refusing because he's your friend. Friend or not, he can't do his job. Get rid of him. Be his friend outside of here, but care about your community enough that you don't want people hiding in their closets because they're scared for their life. He's 21. He was scared to death. He should not have to be. I am losing sleep. I am throwing up. I am sick to death because I am in fear that what if my house gets ran in for my black husband that's already been targeted? Am I going to watch my husband get murdered? Am I going to have to go back and watch a camera of my husband get murdered? Because they're targeting protesters. They're going to our houses. They're harassing us. You guys have got to do something. Because if not, we're going to. We're going to start fighting back. We're going to start defending our black males. We're not going to keep burying people. We're not going to keep going to the hospital. We're not going to keep getting beat up. And we're not going to keep taking the assaults from these Klan in blue. They are gangsters. Get rid of them and get rid of the chief. And I will finish what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Do you understand? Get rid of the chief.
Some of you gonna pray for him at the end.
I ain't praying for none of them.
Gregory Jackson. Alvin. Are you Gregory Jackson? If you, I think, what are we doing? Okay, Mr. Jackson.
Mine's just a couple of things.
Guys, listen to.
Mine's is just a couple of things. We heard of Vietnam veterans, the Miller boys, well, Miller men now. James, John, Thomas, Willie, and Lee Miller. We don't have anything in the city of Decatur named after these Vietnam veterans. I think we ought to have a building, a street, something in honor of 5 men went to Vietnam and came back home.
What's their last name?
Miller.
Yeah.
Okay. My second thing is, I have a cousin, Dr. Mae Jameson, first black female astronaut. They named a school after her in Huntsville, Alabama. We right here in Decatur don't have nothing named after her. And she's a female, black female. And I think that we should name something, because we building stuff here left and right. So I'd be able to name something after her in her honor.
Thank you.
Justice for Steve. Thank you.
Who is it? Okay, I'm sorry. I thought you had already.
She already go in that time frame. I keep up with it.
Wait. Yeah, I got you. Mr. Taylor, come on. Yeah.
Have y'all seen it? Y'all seen the video of them shoot? What y'all think?
I'll address it later.
Sir?
I'll address it later.
What do you think?
About which video?
The video that happened on Third Friday.
I did see it, yes.
What do you think?
There was a lot of chaos. I definitely had questions about the interaction I know you were involved in. And from what I've been told, it's going to be investigated. I look forward to hearing what comes out of that. Hopefully we hear something. I also think that it should be addressed publicly.
You sir?
Same, an unfortunate situation. I hate that it happened at all.
I'm not gonna respond.
Ain't no well, it hurt bad. I've been out of work for 6 months. Had surgery on my shoulder. And when these people were dragging me, they retore it. I'm probably been out of work for another 3, 4, probably 6 months. For wearing a mask. The same thing I'm doing right now. For medical purposes. What we gonna do? What we gonna do?
Did you say they drug you on the ground?
Absolutely.
Is there a reason they drug you across the ground? Why don't you stand up and walk?
Because my legs wouldn't work. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
That's the realest mean, that's inappropriate. If you ain't, I know you seen the video. I know you seen what happened. Did you see it?
Did your legs work at the jail when you got to the jail? I seen the video from there. I was just wondering. If they worked when you got in the car.
Guys, come on.
I'm finna reverse court. Oh, Lord, you got my blood pressure real high, real fast. Do you know anything about me?
Not off the top of my head now.
Well, you're not gonna find anything much about me. At least not for at least 15 years. I'm probably what you call a ghost on the internet. I ain't got no social media. I got nothing. You can't find me unless you got my cell phone, which is 9 times out of 10 in a Faraday bag. You don't know where I'm at or what I'm doing. I don't bother nobody. I'm gonna fight for this justice. They playing with the wrong people, and I was one of them. Anyway, they hurt me bad. I don't know what y'all gonna do about it, but it's something that be done quick, fast, and I heard it. Because people like me ain't gonna sit there no longer. Especially when you ain't doing no more wearing a mask. And I'm gonna keep wearing it. I love all of y'all.
Mr. Jackson has a comment.
I simply want to kind of read a statement that I drafted earlier. It says policies and procedures are guidelines to be used at any given time, at any given foreseeable situation. At the last work session, one of the speakers said that we do not have a problem with our policies and procedures. We have an issue with adhering to our policies and procedures. She was correct. At the last work session, Mr. Kennedy asked if we have any good police officers. The answer is yes, but there are also others. Following the incidents of April 19th, I was sent more than 10 recordings of things that occurred at that event. While reviewing the events, I saw things that I challenge anyone to validate as appropriate actions according to our standing policies and procedures. I saw a man have a taser placed in his chest after he was handcuffed with 5 police officers standing around him. I saw a man threatened with jail for instigating a lawful act. I saw a man who was probably 5 feet away from police activity arrested for disorderly conduct as he recorded what was happening. I saw a man walk up to the officer who gave the arrest order and pat him on the back as a congratulatory good job, but that man was not arrested. I saw Catrella Perkins, while handcuffed, being chastised. I've said at previous meetings we do not have a policies and procedures problem. We have a problem following what we already have on the books. Over the past week, I have spoken with a couple of consultants who can come in and align our policies and procedures with our actions. I asked my council counterparts to do the same so that we can come to a workable solution and bring in someone who can look at our policies and procedures and align them with our actions. That's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Jackson, and we do stand adjourned. Thanks.
Would you mind sharing